ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. So any questions, clarifications? The whole question of Janmadhyasya yatah Nyaya Siddham athava Pramana Shabda Pramana Siddham, what is it? You had a question?
Yeah, I had two questions. So, in the first sutra, it's sadhana chatushra sampanna nantaram. Then only one makes an inquiry, or is it possible that one just makes an inquiry and then gets, or without any qualification, you can't...
The question is whether you can start the inquiry before sadhana chatushra sampanna. In fact, most of us started that way. See, some basic viveka and mumukshutvam is there, you start the inquiry. But for it to fulfill itself in the Atma Jnanam, Nishtha, so then you have to work on the sadhana chatushtayam along with the study. And that's what most of us did. None of us came to Vedanta with all the sadhana chatushtayam. As we started getting more and more fine-tuning things, self-awareness developed. So we knew more and more what has to be taken care of. So that's part of the game. But why is he saying here that sadhana chatushtaya anantaram? Because only then knowledge will take place completely. So Vedanta addresses itself to an adhikari, like any system. Can I start calculus without being clear about algebra? Thoda idhar udhar milega. Some here and there I will get. But I won't understand the full thing. Similarly here, that is why when you find, you studied the Gita, then you went to the Upanishad, then a new Gita batch was starting and you came back to it. You find now your understanding is much better. Because of this, the sadhana chatushtayam is growing. That's why it seems to take time. That's why sometimes we have to repeat certain things. Because sadhana chatushtayam keeps growing. Very few students have come completely prepared. As I normally say, outside the pages of the Upanishad and the Gita, you don't see them. All of us prepared as part of the game. So that is why that. But adhikari, it's making it clear. If you want to have that Atma Jnanam as a part of your life, get the sadhana chatushtayam. So there is no ambiguity there.
Okay, otherwise you may get insights, but it may not
won't be a part
become
of
a
your
fact
life.
of your...
Then you will start saying things like, I know but I don't experience. All that nonsense will come up because of that. Anubhavam is not there, experience is not there.
No is only one line, Tattvamasi.
That's all there is there. The teaching is only that much. Teaching is very simple. But the sides become important because our qualifications are limited. That's why for Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi was enough. No? How much was the teaching? 1 hour. Okay.
You said that some of your students, Commodore and all that, they were...
No, sometimes after 30 years also they are still struggling. So don't worry, hota hai. Why? Because you started out of a curiosity. Some people I know even started out as a time pass activity. But in the process, they got involved, they got this thing, and that's fine. Like normally that's why normally teaching is graded. Start with more simple things. It's graded because of that. Like one class I took right in the beginning, I started straight with Panchadashi. Because all the students who were coming for that class was already attending another guru-wise class. So the Gita, Upanishad and all they were doing that. So I said, okay, you are not doing that, but you still want me to take a class. I will supplement that learning. So for 5 years I took only that. Then after that, Kamini, Manisha and all joined. So I went back to the Gita and all that. So the teaching is geared to the audience in front also. Yeah, it has to be. अच्छा आप तो बहुत पढ़े लिखे हैं, सीधा हम लोग ब्रह्म सूत्र में जाएंगे। It won't work. Yeah. Just because somebody is educated. Even it won't work in other disciplines also. Like I remember a friend of mine was teaching Tai Chi, and the group that he was teaching to was very educated, grasped things fast, nice, you know. So normally the first level itself takes minimum 1 year before you go to the second level. You know, these people are grasping it fast. After 3 months, he went to the second level. The whole class dropped out because it's too much. Overload. Overloading. Because people are not yet ready. Yeah, they intelligence and understanding, but there was practice involved in it. So that body has to be got ready with the practice. So in any discipline, there has to be a certain gradation of knowledge. Unless an Uttamadhikari, like Shvetiketu, etc., which is different. Okay. What is your second question?
I wanted to know about Pratyakatma Siddhi more. Can you explain
Which one?
more on Pratyakatma Siddhi?
Pratyekatma?
Siddhi. It said Pratyakatma. Last time in the class you said that Pratyakatma.
Okay, the word Pratyekatma.
Pratyakatma. So
Why is the word Pratyekatma used? Because we have different conclusions of what the Atma is. The translation of the Atma is what? I. Don't even say self. Okay? I. So when I say body, I. This is Pratyaksham. Aksham Prativartate. It is there in front of my eyes. The body is there in front of my eyes. Prana Manaha is also Pratyaksham, Sakshi Pratyaksham. As opposed to that, we are constrained to use the term Pratyekatma as within all these things. All these are Bahya, this is Pratyak. All this is Pratyaksham, this is Pratyekatma, the one who sees the whole thing. Sakshi. So to indicate that and not to confuse, is a Pratyekatma, Atma within. All this is Atma without, this is Atma within. Then what is the Pratyekatma, etc. discussion comes and then all thing. Yeah. So the Pratyekatma, this term is only a starting point for discussion. Why? Paranchikani vyatirnak swayambhu paran pashyati na to then kaschad dhiraha avrutta chakshu. Paranchikani paran pashyati. All your sense organs are focused outside. Your mind is focused outside. So you see outside. यादें किधर से हैं? Which Upanishad? Kathopanishad. Okay, yeah. So you see external things. So some wise person, Avrita Chakshu. Now Avrita Chakshu again you will misunderstand. Sit down, close your eyes and no. Shift of focus. From what is outside to who is the I. So for that shift of focus, the word Pratyekatma will be used. It's only to shift focus, not for anything else. Yeah, you are concerned with outside, Pratyek. Atma is both inside and outside. Limitlessness. No?
In fact, we are in Atma.
Huh?
Atma is not within us. We are in Atma. Everything
Exactly.
is in Atma.
We meaning the body, mind, etc.
Body, mind, even the world. The
Yeah,
whole
everything
thing,
is in
everything
Atma.
Atma.
So you have to look at it. Now to come to that understanding, where is your starting point? Avrutta Chakshu. For that, Pratyekatma. So it's just a reference point to shift focus. Because our focus is always on what is outside, what is to be done, or our various identities that come from our roles. Isn't that all our focus is all the time on that? Because in the world you have to do things, to function. So functioning means roles. Roles means identities, self-judgment. So, Bahuduram like, So since all these identities are based on what you do with your body, mind, the Shruti only negates that much. Doesn't bother to talk about the roles so much. But it says, no? Putre neshtre, aham nashtra, etc. It says. So to indicate that the roles, etc. are there. Therefore self-judgment comes from the roles. I mean, the amount of self-judgment that comes is huge. One has to see that. I was saying, I think yesterday class I was saying, no? Yeah, yesterday class I was saying, Gita class. Morning, after a Tai Chi session, we went for a cup of coffee to Mani's. Now there was this journalist there. Okay? He was known for his tough guy image as a journalist. Okay? He had gone to Dubai, interviewed Dawood Ibrahim. Yeah, he had all that underworld connection. Everything, you know. So at work he was known as rough and tough. Then I'm meeting him after 2 years after he retired. It is almost pitiable to see. Itna, bechara. It's only 2 years after retirement, he's already become so bechara. Why? His whole self-worth came from the role he was playing. Role gone, now bhi kya ho gaya? Hey, I am a person, I am still valid as a person. No? I still have those contacts, I still have those things, all that is still there. Abhi to koi puchta hi nahi hai. I can't publish an article in the paper about you. I mean, I had got him to publish an article about Puja Saunji. He didn't do it through someone, Meenakshi. That time was all rough and tough. I mean, what happened? You are the same person, but your self-judgment is so based on the roles. All the problem comes. You consider yourself nothing without the roles. Very rarely I have seen people happy on their retirement day. Even though they have a party, this, that, etc. Nice send off. You gifted a gold watch, all that thing happened, but nobody is happy. Very few people. My dad was different, he was happy. Finally relieved. Yeah. So very few. By the way, both of us retired in the same year. So you. Yeah. 1976. So his self-worth did not come from his this thing. Very few people like that. So the cause of that self-judgment, word pratik, etc., has to be used to shift focus.
Swamiji,
Yeah.
when I was in college, we had a physics professor.
Hmm.
He was like a Hitler, terror. People used to, wet their pants when
Yeah.
he's there. And after years, I met him at the Yoga Institute. He was in depression. He was looking so different. I was
Yeah.
feeling so pity for
You
him.
feel sorry for him, yeah, exactly. Because the job gone, everything gone.
प्रोफाइल बदल जाता है.
Yeah. Whereas a person who has an innate sense of self-worth, that will not happen. That means your self-esteem, your self-worth should come from more than your roles. Yes, some roles help you develop and grow. That's where Pariksha Lokan, etc. comes. That's where your adhikaritvam comes from. So the roles can help you develop your adhikaritvam, and that's a good thing. But once developed, it is you, na? Yeah. True. So you make the role great.
What do you exactly mean by avrata chakshu?
Huh?
What do you mean by avrata chakshu actually?
Avrata chakshu. To
Yeah,
turn your
avrata.
focus inside, yeah.
For turning it
To
in.
focus
Okay.
towards the self, not through the roles. So that's why avrata chakshu, pratyegatma, these terms are used only for that sense. Okay? Yeah. All right, then let's get back into the text.
So Swamiji, so are we borrowing that strength from that role?
From?
Not having inner strength. We are borrowing, like
Yeah,
moon is
our
borrowing
self-worth is being borrowed from what we are
from the,
doing.
from the role
Yeah.
which we play.
That's why the most
But
the self-worth that we have should come from what we are rather than our roles. I would suggest everyone to go onto my website, and I put up some things about self-esteem, self-worth, all that I put up. Okay, yeah. And there is a writer called Nathaniel Brandon who has written about 6 pillars of self-esteem. I have made it 8 because that 6 is not enough. There are some more necessary. Two things I have added is learning how to handle your emotions, and also in terms of having an altar of surrender. That's also important.
Sharma.
It can be Ishvara, it can be a nation, it can be a cause, a sense of surrender that keeps everything in check nicely.
So your website means
VedicWisdom.in.
Acha,
Harshavidya is a YouTube channel. So there you find some very nice stuff on that.
But Swami, sometimes some roles do not help to build the self-worth and self-esteem till you realize that you no longer require the role.
Say if you are in an
But,
abusive relationship, for example, that is damaging for your self-esteem. Like I find many women, or men for that matter also, in an abusive relationship or in a relationship with someone who is very narcissistic, self-centered. So those people always manipulate and control everyone around them. That's damaging to your self-esteem because you always keep doubting what you're saying and doing.
Yeah, like a lot of my confidence came from playing the role of a lawyer.
Starting is always in there. A good role always will make you, a good role that you are competent in will help you develop the self-esteem. But the shift has to happen. Did law make you great or you are making law great?
Initially it was the other, now it's the other way around.
Exactly.
But
Initially you are a consumer, like Swamiji used to say. No? Initially you are drawing strength from the role. A time has to come when you are so big that you are giving things to the role. That law is benefiting from what you are. That medicine is benefiting from what you are. It has to be there. Yeah.
One should know the art of adapting.
And not more than
Whatever
adapting,
the situation
growing
is.
into the thing. Growing into the thing where you are bigger than the role. To recognize that. Initially the role contributes, yeah. Of course.
So for example, let us take naming him. Already we have Narendra Modi. He adapts himself. Whoever Narendra Modi, whoever the leader is there, he adapts. He deals with it.
See, that is adapting to situations like more than adapting. I will say responding to situations.
Okay.
Yeah, you respond appropriately to what is there. That's a different thing. That's part of your growth. Yeah. But is the position making Narendra Modi great or Narendra Modi is making the position great?
Today he is making it.
Exactly. Exactly. Not the other way around, no? Because we are prime ministers. Some of them are damaging to the country. Yeah. Yeah, somebody had a question. Yeah?
Yeah, no, is it a similar thing saying like stop being a consumer and become a contributor?
That's exactly what I'm saying, referring to.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
and also when we do the stages of God,
understanding
the
God,
stages,
yeah.
Understanding God, you have to become a visionary,
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to be stuck
See, that is,
wanting.
yeah, that's from a different context. That's only from the role of you as a devotee. Yeah. So even in the role of a devotee, thing changes, no? Yeah. Remember artharthi, jignasu, jnani tu atme vemaya mataha. It has to come to there, no? There also is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prashant. You're muted.
Swamiji, I just have a question about the altar of surrender. So generally, the bigger the altar, the greater is the growth of the individual, isn't it? So how...
It depends on your sense of surrender. Like all of us, I mean, in one of the WhatsApp videos I put up a message. Okay. that the Indian Army is looking for direct recruitment into 2-star generals because there are so many expert opinions being bandied about our brain. See, we may have a sense of surrender to the nation, for example. But our surrender is about, I'm patriotic. How much is it? That sense of surrender to the nation, how much growth will it give a civilian and how much growth will it give to a soldier? A soldier may be less educated, younger, this thing. But the sense of our surrender is so high, the growth he has is much higher than a more educated civilian who's, for him, it's just an idea, a sense of surrender. Now, if you're saying, no, my sense of surrender to the country is high, therefore, in what way I can help the country develop, and if that guy is doing something for that, whether in the field of environment, business, industry, startup, whatever field, then that guy's growth also is high. So it's proportional to the sense of surrender also, not just the goal.
So even if it is just within the family, if the sense of surrender is total, then the growth is rapid. And okay.
Why I give army as an example is because you're putting your life on the line. Come on, it is just not just a talk. You're putting your life on the line. Come on. Talk is easy. Talk is easy. Yeah, there are, like for example, there are plenty of people, some of them I know, who cancel their trip to Turkey at personal cost. They didn't get refund, but they still cancelled it. Now look at it. They lost money in the process. They put their money where their mouth is. Now that sense of surrender is high, no? You may agree whether it will make a difference, not all that, you can have endless debates on it. That's a different thing. But their sense of surrender, that I will not contribute to people who are against our nation. Simple. Because my sense of surrender to the nation is high. He lost money in the process, but his sense of growth and self-esteem is much better. Why? I am bigger than that money. I am bigger than that holiday. I will not let it come to at the cost to my country. So the sense of surrender is high.
Swamiji, the patriotism starts at your mother's lap.
Yeah, but surrender, there it is natural.
How you come to know what is patriotism?
What is?
Patriotism.
That the child doesn't understand. The child has got no clue. Child has got no clue. How does the child have any clue? How does the baby know? Nothing.
Slowly by stories.
The story, then the mother tells stories, this, that, etc. Fine. So it has to come at a later age, after 2. The age appropriateness also.
According to me, the women have a very big role to play.
Tell me, how are you going to put the idea of nation to a 2-year-old? Tell me, how will you put it? How will you put it?
Correct.
The child doesn't even have a concept of family. Mama, papa, that's all. And at the most a sibling. That's all the child has. The maximum at this stage of our human growth, we can expand ourselves, is the state of the nation. That's why it becomes that patriotism becomes important. After that is Sarvatma Bhava, etc. That takes a lot of growth. That's why India also struggled with Vedanta, because we are so community oriented, state oriented. Can you imagine an IT company shifting out of Karnataka because they are forcing the language that everyone should speak Kannada only? And you get people from all over the world coming in to work in an IT company. Yeah, you can pick up enough Kannada so that when you're traveling by a bus or something like that, you know how to commute with the conductor there. He may not know any other language.
Whatever they are doing, they are all oriented for vote bank.
Yeah.
They don't realize what damage is there.
Can you imagine how much damage that is created? The identification.
They are doing the same thing now in Maharashtra.
You are not getting what
you
I...
go to the bank, you have to talk in
you
Marathi.
are not understanding what I am saying. I am trying to make you understand that how much we can expand our identification. That is my idea. But we are identifying only by communities. As Indian, you mean all of them are identifying as Indians? They are identified as Indians, they wouldn't. Even if you are against a language, Hindi, say, for whatever reason, okay, fine, it is thrust on us, we didn't want it. Even then, can you identify with a nation? That's it. How many of us can identify with a nation?
People are hesitant to say Bharat Mata ki Jai also.
Yeah. He did the same problem. That's vote bank politics. But at least he identified with the nation. He's a very strong nationalist. Yeah. So there is where it is. We don't see beyond ourselves or at the most our immediate family. So that's why family becomes a unit, because minimum that much you expand yourself. We have no idea of community functioning. How many of us? I mean, you see that now. 20 flats in a society. Society meeting, how many people landed? You say 6 o'clock meeting. 6 o'clock there are 2 people. Quorum nahi hai. Then you shift it to 6:30. 4-5 people come. Quorum hai. Even that much. Come on, here is my society. I am living here. Let me take part. Okay, if I have something urgent, important, that's a different thing. But otherwise, can we not spend an hour? We don't. ALMs, local area management. How much do we expand ourselves? Retired people will keep cribbing about the government and the municipality. I got all the retired people in my road some years ago, organized into ALM, chalo, and all of them got such a suddenly new purpose. their arthritis, everything disappeared.
Good idea.
Just one road you are talking about. Utna bhi nahi hai. They don't have it. People in India, it's very poor. Very poor. Okay, as a community, all of us are devotees of this temple. Community, you go there. Okay, fine, you go there. Can you identify with everyone there? Ask for volunteers. How many people you will get? Ask for volunteers. It's a small function. Wherever devotion is high, volunteering is high. Where devotion is poor, volunteering is poor. Wherever seva bhava is high, volunteering is high. Otherwise, no. Vedanta students, volunteering is very poor. Only half a dozen people will volunteer for everything. For our ashram work, I have a list of 30 volunteers. If I call a meeting, there will be 10 people coming. Same 10 people will anyway, without calling for a meeting, they will do when I ask them. फिर बोलते सर्वात्मा भाव, I am everything. रेवा दे. So this idea of community, idea of nation, etc., becomes important because it gives a certain expansiveness, a larger identification, which is still mithya. It's all within the mithya world. Correct? But being self-centered is not within the mithya world. As though all that is mithya, but this is satyam. Community defense, etc. बहुत दूर. The Hindus as a community like that. You see, a member of the church in the hospital, the people in the church will rally around to do whatever is necessary. Among Hindus, you don't find that happening. Therefore, the idea of helping community, etc., has to come in. Little bit it comes into Hindus when they are living away from their country. थोड़ा आ जाता है.
पूरा आ जाता है. Little bit different, पूरा आ जाता है.
Not otherwise, yeah. This is the result of a divide and rule policy, and we are still following that. We are still following that. Anyway, I am digressing from Brahma Sutra. But sometimes this becomes important to gain that adhikari. Then he had said that without Ishvara, you cannot have, okay, eva muktam Ishvara. Okay, by kevala anumanam, etc., you cannot have this thing, creation. And here he is saying, Nanu, the 78th page here, Nanu iha api, correct? Up to that we are saying, before that. Tadeva upanyastam janmadi sutra. Saying that is true, na? You are saying jagataha karma, etc. Our Anumana is saying the same thing. Okay? Why do you need your Brahma Sutra? Apna Anuman se we are establishing an Ishvara. And he says, no, that is not true. That's not true. Why? Can by Anumana you even establish a Nimitta Karanam? You say this is a creation. Let us not challenge the creation part. Okay? That creation argument always given. You cannot, you have not seen Pragabhava, Pradvamsa Bhava of the universe. Therefore, you cannot establish this as Karya. Let us leave that for the time being. To bhada astra. Okay, let us use a smaller thing. Okay? The seed is upadana karana for the tree. Correct? Nimitta karanam hai? Can you see any nimitta karanam? Because the nimitta karanam has to be a sentient being. Correct? If nimitta karanam is not a sentient being, even a stone can become karanam. Because nimitta karanam has to have knowledge on it. Now, what is the nimitta karanam for the seed sprouting and becoming a tree? Upadana karanam you can see. Hai. So, if there are enough vyabhichara in your logic that everything should have a nimitta karanam, either say, how are you establishing nimitta karanam? Only by logic. Vedanta is different. Only by logic, how are you establishing it? Then you have to say some excuse like nature. So what is nature? Nature is a very catch-all term. What do you mean by nature? So how do you establish Nimitta Karanam? Nimitta Karanam should have knowledge. Knowledge means the mind should be there. Without mind there is no knowledge. Vrittik Jnanam will not be there. So, by Kevala Anumanam, you cannot even establish Nimitta Karanam. Forget Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. That cannot be established. Only by logic. You take the Shastras and the whole thing is different.
Swami, that much anumanam can be there that there has to be somebody behind.
Maybe. It's an assumption you are making. Or you let us say, maybe there is a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe. May not be. If you are saying possibility means it may be there, it may not be there. Now, I believe so. I believe your belief may be wrong also. It's not definitive. It's not definitive. Yes, Sanchit, you have a question?
Given that a particular seed leads to a particular kind of a tree,
Yeah.
isn't intelligence still there? And given that intelligence is there, is it?
Yeah, but how do you establish that there is an individual nimitta karana? Because wild also trees grow. In my farm, I plant, therefore it grows. You can say nimittam. But what about the wild? In fact, all domesticated plants were once upon a time wild. So that's why you can't establish nimitta karanam, even nimitta karanam, only on the basis of logic. Okay. Then if you are establishing upadana karanam, then the question will come up, what is nimitta karanam? Even by your atomic theory, you are establishing upadana karanam. Then where is nimitta karanam? So you are postulating a God. Is outside the creation, within the creation, what is the material? N number of problems comes. How do you postulate a God outside the creation? Leave Vedanta out of it. Then come, how do you postulate a God outside creation? Yeah, Prashant.
Swamiji, so when we talk about abhinna nimittopadana karanam, then we give the example of saying
One second. You are talking after we accepted Vedanta. I am talking kevala anumanam, the Vaisheshika, Nyaya Vaisheshika. The dismissal is of the Nyaya Vaisheshika. Yeah.
Correct, Swamiji. My question is like when we talk about that, we generally say that okay, so for everything we require upadana karanam and a nimitta karanam. But in case of Srishti, it is the same, we say, right?
How?
So,
what is your, if you are going to use logic, you must give me a vyapti and you must give me an example. What is your vyapti? You will say, once you will say, yad asti, yad karyam, tat sakritakam, yata gata. Clean cut example. Then I will show vyabhichara in it by saying, bija ankuraha. It's not contradicted there. Therefore, your logic is not all pervading. It's very limited. So, gataha sakartakam, your logic I'll accept it. But how are you extending it to the world? Because I'll show you without potter. Okay? How in the world there are things.
Vyabhichara means what?
Huh?
Vyabhichara.
Vyabhichara meaning to be contradicted. So all these things will come up. Okay. Karthik, are you seeing anyone in the trying to enter? No, no?
No, Swamiji.
Okay. All right. Then he says, Vedanta Vakya Kusuma Grantha Anartatva Sutra. So what is the purpose of the sutra? To string together, that's why it's called a sutra also. To string together all the flowers or Vedanta Vakya. Vedanta Vakya are flowers. So all of them connected to a certain topic is strung together. Okay, that is the sutras. Therefore, Vedanta Vakyani hi sutra udahritya vicharyante. But the sutra is udaharanam is what? Vedanta Vakya Vichara. For Vedanta Vakya Vichara, you can use Anumana, etc. That's not a problem. Once you accept that Vedanta Pramana, there is God. Then to understand that God, you can use all your logic. Means what? All the logic that is used is not proving logic, it is only understanding logic or supporting logic. I don't even use the word supporting, I think I use the word understanding. Why? That means you will have to say Shastra, I will come to that Purvapaksha later. Okay. Understanding logic. Okay. Vakyartha vicharana adhyasam nivrittaha hi brahmavagati. All that adhyasa etc. has to be nivritta. By negation of all these issues that come up in your mind, only then brahmavagati will happen. Knowledge of Brahman will happen. Okay. Only then knowledge of Brahman will happen. Okay. Na anumanadi. Not by kevala anumanam itself. Pramananta Nivritta. Because Anumanam is meant for some other this thing. Satsutu Vedanta Vakeshu Jagataha Janmadi Karanavadishu Tad Artha Grahana Dardaya Anumanamiti Vedanta Vakya Aviroda Pramanam Bhavatu Nivaryate. Alright, therefore Vedanta Vakya will give you Brahmavagati. Tad Artha Dardaya. To make that meaning very clear for you, unshakable for you, then Anumana or any other Pramana will become a help for you. Will become a help. Okay. Therefore, Aviroda. In that sense, they are not opposed to Vedanta. No logic is opposed to Vedanta if you are using that logic to make the meaning clearer. Shrutyai cha sahatyena tarkasya abhyupaditvatvat. The Shruti also accepts that. How does the Shruti accept that? Shrotavya, Mantavya. He said, you listen and after that you do Maranam. Why? The meaning has to be clear. A doubt that comes up in your intellect or somebody else's intellect puts the doubt into you because of what you have read, etc., has to be answered by the intellect itself. If the intellect does not answer a doubt, your understanding of the Shastra becomes belief. How can God be there? God is there because this. Okay. God is not like that. My book talks about God like this. These are the fallacies of that. So, a doubt that comes up here has to be answered here. Only then knowledge will come. And Mantavya is necessary because people have doubts. People have doubts because what is being taught is the opposite of their life. Life is based on Adhyasa. We are talking about the Adhisthana. Naturally, the whole thing is different. It contradicts your experience. Therefore, your experience has to be explained away in terms of the knowledge. And the vision itself is doubted. How can that be? So it has to be explained in human terms. Yeah, it has to be explained in human terms. Otherwise, what you talk will be only Shraddha. It won't become Jnana. इतना क्यों सोचने का है? In fact, I was addressing a group. There's something called Indian psychology, which is developing, but now still at very superficial levels. No. Shastra says Tattvamasi, no? So you are Bhagavan. No? Now we will use that for therapy. I said you will create further delusions if you use that. Please don't use that. You will delude people further. Yeah.
Big problem.
No, but I accept what the Shastra is saying. I said just believe. You don't know. You don't understand. Then I had to give Purvapakshas. I don't understand. I can't explain all that. I said, go study. And if you study, you will know that it can't be used for therapy. It is not meant to be used. Vedanta Jnanam, Tattvamasi, etc. is not meant to be used for therapy. Why? Because Tattvamasi is meant for an adhikari. A therapy is far below an adhikari. Someone who needs therapy is not an adhikari. Samadama is missing. In fact, Samadama is problematic. Uparete to hai hi nahi hai. Samadhanam, forget it. So that whole thing, Shat Sampatti, Garbad hai. And if that whole thing is Garbad, Viveka Vairagya is also in Garbad. Because your objectivity, Samadama would not have so much of an issue. So, बहुत सारा problem हो जाता है उसमें. So, we don't want it to be like that. You have to understand it. Understanding means whatever has to be taken care of has to be taken care of. And he gives then from Chandogya Upanishad is giving an example. Be careful of this example. He says, Pandita Medhahi Here is a person, the Pandita. Okay? Medhavi, thinking person, clarity is there. Gandhara, na? Eva upasangayate. What is that? That my printing is poor. What is the next sentence? Eva acharyavan purusha veda. Okay. The story goes like this in Chandogya Upanishad. Here is a person, Pandita Medhavi. He was abducted from Gandhara Desha. Gandhara Desha was very much part of India at that time. Modern Khandar is known as Gandhara. Okay. Dhritarashtra's, not Dhritarashtra, your
Gandhari.
Gandhari was from Gandhara.
From
Yeah,
Gandhara.
Gandhara Desha. So Gandhari was a positional name. Okay, yeah. Like calling Sita Vaidehi. Sita was her name. Vaidehi is from the place where she has come. And so similarly Gandhari. Anyone knows what was Gandhari's original name? Bulga. I knew it sometime. Okay.
Google.
Yeah. No, I'll have to refer to their encyclopedia. It will be there. Okay. So,
his original name, what can you
from Kandar he was abducted, tied up, robbed, tied up and left in a forest. Then it seems that forester found him, untied him, etc. and told him how to get back to Gandhara. So Pandita Medhavi, he understood the instructions. Okay? And he could say, either whenever he was walking, when doubt comes and said, no, he had said this side, not that side. Okay, all right. And he reached Gandhara. So that is the example given for Acharya Vahan Purusho Vedaha. Why? You are supposed to be Medhavi, Viveki, Medhavi. Then when the teacher teaches, you will know. Only thing is, there is no travel here. The travel is from I to myself. Yeah. There is a travel. Here, it is from me to myself. Okay. From the me conceptual to myself reality. Okay. Therefore, Acharyavan Purusha Veda. Why? The idea is only to illustrate that vichara is necessary. Thinking is necessary. Clarity is necessary. Therefore, some doubts, etc. will be. First, he has to be told, no, where he is. That's why you have a lot of this saying describing samsara, the human problem. Why? Because you have to be told where you are, then where you have to reach. So the goal has to be painted. Sthita prajna lakshana, etc. Then margaha, there it is walking, etc. Here, jnanam. Yeah, but otherwise there's a lot of similarity. That's why it's given as an example. Okay? But people misunderstand and they say, Guru gives me instructions. After that, I have to walk the path. Every branch of spirituality you will find this. You have to walk the path. It may be true in other disciplines. If you take yoga, if you take Tai Chi, if you take... True. There it is true. Because there is a path. Okay? Yeah. That you will understand with your practice, this, that, etc. Insights will come only with practice. Yeah. Because when you do a practice, you will understand, you have to be self-aware and full enough to understand what it is doing to your body and mind. Like there is one interesting character. It's called Guru Pashupati or something. He says, there are 3 Agnis in your body. Okay? One is in your Mooladhara, the Agni. That's your sexual fire, etc. Then there is Jataragni in your solar plexus. Then there is Shidagni in your thing. What is the best thing you can give Agni? Ghee. So take a spoon of ghee every morning. Say Agne idam Moolagne idam namamaha. And you take. Then you say Jata idam namamaha. Take second spoon. And then you take the third spoon. Be careful, keep the spoon very tiny. Then he says, do this for 3 days, then do some pranayama, etc. and come after 1 week and tell me what it is. Correct. Eh? When you do pranayamas, etc., and you're supplementing a little bit of ghee, then you will understand the difference that happens. The same thing everyone will say, no, everyone will not have the same. Because each body will respond differently. Someone I may have to say, put some more ghee. Someone I may have to say, cut down that pranayama, both agni hota hai. It's too much of it stimulated. Because it depends on different body type. Therefore, there is certain things that you would gain the path by walking. Because there are things to be done. Here is something to be known, there is no path. What is the Advaitin's path? The track left by the birds in the sky. Can you see the footprints of the birds in the sky? That is the path. Yeah, that is the path. Therefore, don't mistake the example. Okay. Itisha Purusha Buddhi Sahayam Atmanaha Darshati. Atma Jnanaya Purusha Buddhi Sahayam. Why? Manasa eva anudrashtavyam yan manasa na manute. That which cannot be thought of has to be understood by the mind alone. And how is it possible? Na atma ekant na avishayaha asmat pratyaya vishayatvat. It's not totally unknown to you because it is the content of asmat pratyaya. Therefore, you can still know it. It is non-different from the I. Now, about the I, there are a lot of conclusions. And the Shruti will come and reveal what you are. But what you have taken yourself to be has to be negated. These are concepts that you have developed by your own thinking. On the basis of your experience, your thinking, your reading, societal behavior, all these things. Societal behavior condemns a lot of things. You go to Pakistan, ask a kid there, what do you think about the Hindus? Kafir hai, marna chahiye. He'll say that. The kid is innocent. He has been brainwashed into this in school, in the madrasas. Yeah. You ask an old man, he'll say the same thing. I'm not joking. He'll say the same thing. A few are broken free from it. How did they break free? By looking at their thinking and understanding, questioning what they know. Similarly, we have a lot of self-judgments about ourselves. Buddhya kritam. Society, etc. may have done that. My parents were very encouraging. So, it is my response to that. My response to that, I have developed a nice, confident personality. Or, I could have developed a personality of self-entitlement. I am entitled to things. Which is a problem. By the difference is how I responded to it. So my buddhi always is working. My buddhi is always working. So what I read, what the society tells me, what my religious heads tell me, what my political leaders tell me, all this will come into the picture. You can't avoid it. Therefore, if all these are there, in what I think I am, see, we don't think about it. When we commit ourselves to an ideology, political, religious, social, we are defining what we are by that. We are saying, I am like this. It may be a subconscious process, but it is there. I am like this only. So, these concepts, if they are opposed to knowing the truth, and generally all of them are, because you're conceptual self, even a positive thing, I'm a good human being. It's a shackle made of gold. I'm an idiot is a shackle made of iron. Shackle both are. Yeah, it's never again. I'm a good human being, I'm helpful, I'm caring. Very good, I'm a good person. Now it's time to move beyond that. But then move beyond that still has to happen. It'll be easier for that guy, yes. Whereas someone who says like that movie which I said, अरे यार हम तो इतना थर्ड क्लास आदमी है किसको नहीं छोड़ता है. So if the self perception is like that, how will I be able to teach him your Ananda, etc.? Rama says, I'm the third class आदमी. Self-esteem is poor. Criminal minds have that. I am not good, you are also no good. Therefore, you deserve to be cheated by me. I am no good, I am a cheater, all right. I am not okay, you are not okay. Basic psychological stand you take. Many criminal minds have that. I am not saying everybody who ends up being a criminal, but the seed is there. Okay. Now it depends on what you are watering and how you are making it grow. Minimum you should be able to say, I am not okay, you are not okay, and that is okay. So all these conclusions I get from the world I live in. All these have to be taken care of. How will they be taken care of? Not by repeating Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is ultimate teaching. Tattvamasi, I can't understand that. Okay, what do you take yourself to be? Fine, handle that, handle this, handle. So all that is mananam. All that is what? Logical. It is called Shruti Anukula Tarka. You are doing Tarka, logic, in harmony with the Shruti, as a support for the Shruti. Then it is fine. And that's necessary, because these are opinions. Nobody comes to Vedanta without any self-opinion. If you don't have any opinion about yourself, you will never come to Vedanta. Why you are such a submissive, good-for-nothing character. Where are you going to try something for Vedanta? You are a good-for-nothing character. I am nothing. What do you like? Nothing. How many of you have seen that movie Runaway Bride? नहीं देखा? Looks like I am seeing one. क्या बात है? There, this lady gets involved with the person. It goes up to marriage. From the church, she invariably runs away. From the wedding, she wants. And one guy points it out to her. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are. Yeah. When you are with this person, you liked your eggs scrambled because he used to like his eggs scrambled. When you are with that person, you liked it hard boiled because he was eating hard boiled. What is it that you like? So the sense of the self is not there. If the sense of the self is not there, no opinions. How are you going to come to Vedanta to try to know who you are? Even a relative, who am I, is not there. So the nappy-pampy, goody-goody characters won't come to Vedanta. If they come, it won't work. Unless I can manage to put some fire into them. If I manage that, may require a little bit different type of teaching, but possible. It's possible. Then you will, okay, I am something now. Yeah. If I say I am nothing, then how can you say I am everything? If I am something, I can help to say I am everything. So, this concepts, everyone comes with concepts, and those concepts have to be handled. That's the work of logic, Nyaya. So, the vision of the Shastra, whatever stands opposed to that, has to be negated by logic alone. Therefore, Shastra Anukula Tarka Grihyate. Kevala Anumanam na Grihyate. Only Anumanam by itself can't establish Ishvara, but once Ishvara is accepted from the Pramana of the Shastra, then everything else can be come into the picture. Think about that, it's important. Then he is going into Dharma Jignasa and Brahma Jignasa. But that we will cover next class, because huge topic by itself. Okay. Om Tat Sat. Good place to stop.